of course, the Six Nations ain't all. We have Bledisloe, the curtain raiser for the whole weekend. Saturday. What a super Saturday it is. We move on to Bledisloe 3, this time on Australian soil. The Tri-Nations kicks off. Tri-Nations 2020, obviously a new look Tri-Nations with no Springboks, but the Argentinians in there with them.
That's right.
But this game going to be kicking off at 8:45. That's British and Irish time.
In the morning
AM, 7:45 local time. It's at ANZ Stadium in Sydney, and it is going to be refereed by Ben O'Keefe. Well, I like Ben O'Keefe.
Yeah, they're they're still going with the non-neutral refs
because they're trying to keep it all I kind of understand.
It works in rugby better than perhaps it would work anywhere else. I genuinely don't think the refs
try to exercise bias at all. I think bias happens in terms of just like crowds can influence refs and that kind of thing. For sure, like if you have 60,000 people baying you for something or just howling offside, then the offside call ends up being given. But they don't try to they don't try to act.
You'd wonder if it's a personal opinion thing. But you can look at it's better than having like a perfectly neutral Roman Poit in there.
Well, this is it. You can neutrally ruin the game easily if you're just making terrible decisions. But in terms of the colour of the game, as we said, first fixture in the new look Tri-Nations, first of 2 home tests for Australia. They've done their campaign over in New Zealand, got a draw and a loss out of it. Like that's about as good as they sometimes would have expected in recent times.
It's also do or die for the Wallabies. Nothing but a win will do for the men in gold.
If they want to keep this Bledisloe alive, they've got to win. Yep. That's just the equation for it. And I like simple equations like that. Backs to the wall stuff creates a good dynamic.
The 16-all draw on that opening day is going to give the Wallabies the confidence that they can go toe-to-toe with the All Blacks if they hit their strides, if they manage to be at the peak of the game and are managed to be physical enough to step up and handle those big All Black runners. They can match them, and there are tries to be found against them if they hold the ball and they're accurate. But then the big defeat in Eden Park would serve as a reminder of what can happen.
Yes, indeed.
When things don't go well and when they don't front up physically and when they don't mind the ball, it can spiral.
Things can be spiraling.
And I tell you, it wasn't as bad as it could have been. I don't think All Blacks were as sharp on All Blacks as they can even get to, based on what you're seeing in years gone by, and even what we saw in Super Rugby Aotearoa. They're still making a lot of handling errors.
Yes.
And I think if the Wallabies give up as much ball as they gave up in that game again, it could get even uglier. So that is definitely an area of minding the ball.
Definitely a dynamic. Just in terms of the squads, the Wallabies
big changes
in both of them. Yeah, the Wallabies have gone with James Slipper retains his place, as does Paenga Amosa, but Alan Alatoa comes in for Tupou as starting tight head,
which is one I totally get.
I understand
bench impact. The second half in that second test in Eden Park, they were losing the conditions pretty consistently by the end of it. I think having Tupou be able to come on and bring his dynamic footwork and his raw physicality and his speed is just going to make a mountain of difference.
It's
to that
useful
type
that they need to be able to compete in that last quarter, so it's obviously what they're targeting. Then Loto and Phillip retain their partnership, quite a young partnership, fledgling thing. I'm a big fan of Matt Phillip. I think he's a very, very good player. Still have my doubts about Loto in terms of the top level of physicality needed in locks, in the lock position, especially against a very physical All Black side. But I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, as has the Wallaby coaching staff. They get another run out. Ned Hannigan retains his jersey after a pretty impressive showing, probably his most impressive Wallaby showing.
He had his moments for sure.
He had his moments, and then Michael Hooper and Harry Wilson complete that back row as well, same as it was last time.
Still no Pete
Samu back, which is a shame. And then Nick White will partner Noah Lolesio. Lolesio, even I should say.
Lolesio. And you remember the name because this guy has been
brilliant for the
the hype train that has followed this guy now since even before he made his final appearance for the Brumbies, which was stellar. This is an absolute raw kid getting a test debut, starting against
as tough as it gets.
All Blacks. I think it's awesome in Sydney in front of. I think there are going to be fans there. I think Australia are more or less out of lockdown entirely. I'm not sure if they have limited capacity or what, but they're going to have home fans in front of them, and he's going to be partnered by Ire Simone in the centre with Jordan Pataya, and I think himself and Simone coming in is ballsy. It's two new guys, obviously in the absence of O'Connor, who picked up an injury, and Tuamua,
who also picked up a long-term injury. So they're
But what an exciting three-quarter line. Like, it's ballsy as hell. We don't really know what to expect from them, but there's attacking chops and there's youth and, there's
definitely distributing prowess. Certainly, Pataya showed himself to be a very good distributor of the ball. That being said, that one turnover that did lead to the Sam Cane try in the Eden Park test came from a loose carry from Pataya. So, like, in terms of, like, they are youthful and they will be trying to be vigor, but mind the pill, obviously. Turnovers for the All Blacks.
That's big. You could see it going badly as much as you could see it going well in terms of coughing up the ball and having All Blacks in their face. But, having young, ballsy attacking players in your team could go very right as well.
It could go very right, for sure. And then the back three as well. Corabetti and Daugunu retain their places on the wing, but in comes Dane Halep-Petty at fullback for the first time this year. I do like Dane Halep-Petty.
No Tom Banks, obviously. Reece Hodge permanently rooted to the bench.
He is seemingly the benchman at the moment.
Come on and kick a big kick. That's his job.
Scotty CO and Tupou covering the bench props as well.
That's impact. To be fair,
that is good impact. Rob Simmons and Fraser McWright complete the pack replacements. Then Tate McDermott comes in at scrum half to cover, and Hunter Paisami as well finishes off that bench.
Yeah, interesting to see Paisami and Hodge in there. Like, well, both can play, I guess, either in the centre or the backfield. It's sort of no tens
one of
on
those
the bench.
Utility covers.
Is Hodge the 10 cover?
Hodge could be the 10 cover. I guess
Hodge is the 10 cover. That's interesting, isn't it? Gee.
Or Pataya.
Pataya doesn't play 10. No, Simone wouldn't play 10 either.
Tate McDermott in a 10. That's obviously not the plan.
Nick White
switching to 10.
I really hope we don't end up having to go down that rabbit hole. But there might be a bit of oversight in terms of 10 cover.
Well, they're backing
Lola
CO. He hasn't had any minutes so far. He's going to have to give them 80. So yeah, change is wrong, obviously, by Dave Rennie and the powers that be.
Many of them enforced, but even so,
but still good to see a bit of depth, a good bit of rotation. That has been a constant bugbear of mine of everyone with Wallaby Rugby.
And I'm glad he didn't go back to Paisami and Pataya or any of that nonsense. He bought Simone in, who's an out and out 12, who's going to bring a little bit of speed and a little bit of heft and a little bit of carrying to marry what Lolosio and Pataya are going to be bringing outside him.
Yeah,
there's attacking chops there.
There's definitely, it's going to need a big game from Nick White, who's the experienced short hair in there.
Yeah,
he needs
control.
Control from 9 will obviously be pivotal in terms of how well the debutant at 10 goes or not.
Of course, and not to mention the pack.
Yeah. The pack is where the game was lost, because looking at the All Blacks you can kind of see why. We have Tui Nukuafe
comes in to replace Joe Moody. I thought Hodgman did enough, to be honest with you, to get the starting berth.
Apparently not quite. He does retain his spot on the bench. Dane Coles retains his spot, which is interesting. He was obviously great in the loose. Little more shady at line out time than it had been the week before.
Yeah, Cody Taylor definitely a better line out forward than he is.
Seemingly. And then Tuonga Fassi, who's been brilliant throughout this whole Bledisloe series. I'm a big fan of him. And then Tui Pilatu and the returning Whitelock brings a serious heft, and this is why I'm cocking a skeptical eye at Salakai Loto is when I'm looking at those All Black engine room. That is danger. And then Frizzell, Kane, Satutu getting the nod.
Hoskins Satutu
first start, I think.
No Artie this week, but that's great to see Satutu in the number 8 jersey. I think he's going to make it his own. I got to say Frizzell in there as well, and with Kane, who's been so bullish in the contact. That is a pack that is picked to bully the Wallabies. That's what they've picked, that pack.
It is.
They haven't got the quick guys in there. They've got the big guys in there.
Yes,
and Satutu can do it all, obviously, and so can Sam Kane. But even Frizzell in there, that's just a hefty man they've gotten in to combine with Whitelock and Tui Pilatu and Tuonga Fassi. The only one who's more speedy than their contemporary is Dane Coles.
Yes,
but generally speaking,
he's not lacking for physicality either. No, they're a big strong pack.
Yeah.
And then the back line is good too as well. It's I think it's actually the same one as the week before. We have Smith, Moonga, Goodhue, Leonard Brown, Clark and Barrett. Jewel Barrett's and a Caleb Clark in there. So yeah, it's potentially dangerous all over. Replacements then Taylor, as you say, or Taylor and Hodgman. And Tyrrell Lomax gets in as tight head cover. Scott Barrett, great to see him back as well in the picture.
Was Tupovi injured or is he dropped after making his debut?
I'm not sure.
Not sure about that. See him out of there.
Papali'i also getting in.
Dalton Papali'i making his debut from the bench potentially is great.
Yeah, he's been brilliant.
I really loved him in Super Rugby Aotearoa.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see what he does in an All Black shirt.
TJ obviously back in as perpetual cover at 9, and Laumape and surprising outside men. So we have Laumape and Rico Ioane as bench cover.
Interesting. I really hope that they don't. Obviously Rico had a nightmare against the Wallabies and Bledisloe won.
Are they going to slap
Hopefully
him on
the dust has settled now, but I really hope that they don't abandon Rico at 13 as a project, because I still have my doubts. As good as the All Blacks can be when they have go forward, and as good as all of their backs have in terms of catch pass
and just instinct
I think that from a creativity point of view and even from a combination point of view, that the centre partnership of Goodhue and Leonard Brown it's good but it's not that good. It's good but not great. That's what I'd say about it. It doesn't have that penetration that you would associate with All Black centres in times gone by.
Well, certainly your Sonny Bill, Nonu Smith with Sonny Bill off the bench kind of stuff.
Well, obviously they don't have that kind of talent at the moment, but even I think Rico in there showed some real positivity and some real signs of being a danger man from 13 in a way that neither Leonard Brown or Goodhue quite are. Yeah,
and I don't as much as I like that. Obviously Bowden Barrett is undroppable and Richie Mo'unga is in great form too. They haven't quite linked in terms of their 10-12 axis or 10-15 axis that much. They've both shown great heads up play and great footwork in individual moments and little offloads here and there, but it hasn't quite worked as a kind of a backline that unpicks things just on its own merit alone without being having the virtue of going through front football, which is where their dominance in Eden Park was built on, just the pack dominating the Wallaby pack. So that is really kind of the question mark. Then we'll move into just the winning conditions for both, or what both teams need to do. We'll start with the hosts, which is the Wallabies. So just in terms of what the Wallabies need to do when they're attacking this All Black pack, or this All Black team, this mighty All Black team, what do they need to do? What are you gonna look for? I kind of think a lot of it is the same equation as before. We were begging them to not kick the ball away cheaply. And as much as the personnel have changed, that equation remains the same. You can't kick loosely to the All Blacks. They will punish you. So you need to be confident and comfortable going through phases, being able to ask questions. Big forward runners need to kind of win some contacts and build some pressure. But I think one of the different focuses of this week, based on the last 2 weeks, will be the offensive breakdown. They need to resource that better, because in the first half, especially in Eden Park, they had great chances and the All Blacks just have great steals. They're
it's one of the dangers with the heads up thing, especially if players aren't dialed in. One of the things that makes this French team so great is the fact that they can play heads up rugby on the same wavelength as each other. You see that with great All Black teams as well, great All Black moments where they're playing heads up but they're all in sync with one another. Sometimes with the Wallabies they can get lost down a track of their own. Somebody like Daugunu will break a tackle or beat a man and then he'll be away, he'll try to put more footwork on, but he's not actually dialed with his teammates, and he gets lost. When he does go down, there's no teammate in sight. And so I just think being on top of one each other, perhaps working in at least pods of two, where they're always having eyes for each other and you need reading to watch each other and seeing what you're doing, especially with these young guys.
They asked a lot of questions at the beginning in Eden Park, and actually in the beginning of both tests, they asked some questions, but in the first quarter in Eden Park, Sam Cane, Ardy Sevilla and Frizzell had all got big steals that had all sucked the life out of the Wallaby attack when it had been looking good. They've done a lot of things in terms of ticking the boxes. They've won some, Philip has looked good in the carry, as has Loto. They've got
a very decent ruck speed when they do manage to retain the ball. Their ruck speed's pretty good.
The issue is when they half break the line, they manage to get through a hole and it's just a guy isolated on his own, and the All Blacks are really good at winning that turnover. They do eyeball turnover balls.
The other thing that the All Blacks managed to do was never ever be sucked in for the whole game last week. Every wide shot was just a black wall from ruck to wing. And that was a very difficult thing for the Wallabies. They simply didn't win enough contacts last week on either side of the ball.
It's true.
Speed and footwork is obviously the antidote to power at the best and worst of occasions. A lot of it's going to depend on the form of the new guys. I think Lolesio, obviously big question mark. Obviously he's a talent, he's in there for a young man. He's got all this hype behind him. How good is his distribution game going to be? We don't know. But Pataya has class footwork, and Pataya is like your old school he's very quick, but he's got great hands. He's very much in the mold of a classic 13.
Yeah.
And I think Uri Simone is in the mold of a classic 12.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are to get some purchase in terms of offense, there's definitely scope for those two linking up, for Simone running hard lines and breaking tackles, or getting a hand free and Pataya picking a line off him.
For sure.
That's the old centre picture that you don't see too much of these days.
Yeah.
Roberts or O'Driscoll from the Lions in 09.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of look where you get the two guys in the midfield reading each other and picking lines off each other and punching their way through the midfield.
Yes.
I definitely would love to see a bit of that from them. But yeah, the work rate of the pack in the back row in terms of supporting that has to be massive
for
as well.
sure. Yeah, and the other thing is just turn those red zone visits into points. They can be 3-pointers, they can be 7-pointers, but they need to be pointers, because like too often at the beginning of the Eden Park test, they got themselves in great positions, great multi-phase attack, and it just ended in an All Black turnover.
You do have to execute some scoreboard pressure. I wouldn't I don't know what Lolasio's drop goal game is like, but I wouldn't mind seeing it if they're stalled in their half, just chipping one over and getting a mind to just getting points out of visits and punishing the All Blacks, because the All Blacks, they have been a little loose in these games, even with their success at Eden Park. But obviously the main thing is there's many main things, but one of the key things against the All Blacks, if you're ever playing them, is going to be your quality of execution.
Yes.
Making silly errors, making unforced errors that play them into the game, dropping balls, not minding the ball in the contact, turnovers. They're killers. They're what the All Blacks feed off. They're oxygen to that All Black team, and you need to starve them of it. You do need to mind the ball, and everybody needs to be dialed into that job of protecting the ball, presenting it well, getting it quick, but getting it away from potential steals.
Getting the steal, the turnover poach guy, getting him out of there, and also trying to fold the defence a little. It's been tough for them to do. They haven't done it even with some of the penetration, but Daugunu and Corabetti have shown themselves to be potentially lethal when they're put into that little bit of space. They need to try and manufacture that more. Obviously it's a big job. It's easier said than done.
They're probably going to work in bringing the blindside winger tight around the ruck as well. They like to get their wingers wandering, and certainly if the All Blacks are holding just a lot of width, it's something that they're going to have to work in as well, because getting their hands on the ball is key. Corabetti not dropping the ball also key.
Yes, also key. Whatever happened to him in Eden Park, I don't know, but get him to hold the ball, maybe stick some super glue to his hands or something. But for sure, accuracy and execution pivotal for them. And then when they don't have the ball, it's a tougher task, to be honest. They need to front up and be ready for, they got away with it. They kind of got an inflated opinion in themselves after the first test and the draw. They got a lot of things off on defense. Eden Park was more the All Blacks to be expected to be. Certainly that's more what the challenge they should be expecting, should be preparing for, because they really got dominated in the contact zone. The All Blacks didn't even do much creative in the multi-phase. Didn't really have to. They just sent runners round the corner. Aaron Smith's tempo and passing was crisp and accurate, and it just marched them back. And then you saw a bandaged Phillip going off at 60 minutes because he'd made like 20 odd tackles and he just could make no more. And they need their guys to step up in that area. They need to be physical, need to be ready and not surprised by
dialed into the chop tackles and not letting the All Blacks get any kind of go forward from those narrow carries.
Force them to be a bit more creative with it. Drive them back.
Exactly, but not even drive them back. They're bigger than you, but get low and make good tackles. That is absolutely key, especially when they don't have the poach threat necessarily that they could have with a Pocock in years gone by. It's absolutely on the Wallabies to just check the All Blacks defence around the fringes and force them to go a little wider. And frankly, so far this tournament, you've seen in the opening of that Eden Park test, I think Frazell had a couple of drops. They had a lot of drop balls when they were trying to force the play. And that's something that the Wallabies should be looking to get them to do, just by nullifying their ability to just run over them.
March forward.
That's about fronting up. That's about coming out of the blocks, understanding your task, getting out of the line and making hard tackles. That's
brave tackles. They need to be low, they need to be accurate. You can't soft out of them, you can't go soaking. Because that's exactly what this All Black team wants. If you have Tui Pilatu marching over you, that's a great All Black picture.
If you have Richie Mooney getting the ball after a couple of dominant carries and everything is go forward, and he's only got the Goodhue and Leonard Brown and Bowden Barrett and those lethal wingers to give the ball to and to get the ball to with acres of space, that's just it's a scary picture in any case. Like
very,
you
very
have
tough.
to make it scrappy, and you have to make them work for every inch, make them
Exactly.
work for every score.
Well, certainly in that first test, or certainly even in the first half, it took like they managed to repel them enough such that it was only Beauden Barrett making world class plays that got them into the game, which you can't legislate for. He's going to make some plays against you, so you
bring him down when he's spinning through you.
Yes, indeed. But you're going to have to front up on the more whatever about what Beauden Barrett does. Focus on what you can do. Expect the All Blacks to be bringing that physical, hard-nosed edge because they picked a mighty pack to try and run at you. The selection says it all. So your prep should be low tackling, stifle them at the source, and make a game of it.
Absolutely.
Then when it comes to the set piece, the scrum I thought was very, very interesting, particularly in Eden Park. I thought it was actually one of the areas where the Wallabies managed to hold their own for the most part. The only guy who struggled was Leilala off the bench for the All Blacks, who really got dominated in the second.
Scotty Seo coming off that bench for the Wallabies.
So the Wallabies have a very good scrum at the moment. They definitely do. And Alan Aldertoe is a very solid scrummager himself. No weakness at all. And Slipper, despite our forewarnings pre-Bledisloe, we were worried because Slipper's been there for ages. And
he's changed his shoes. He's not slipping anymore.
Not slipping at all. He's absolutely keeping his feet. He's developed into quite a tidy scrummager and a very useful player in the loose. The Wallabies will be trying to get some things off. The All Black pack being as hefty as it is, and the engine
doesn't look likely.
I think more likely, and certainly with the tradition that it is, and with Ben O'Keefe reffing, I expect just clean ball.
Also, Leilala's lousy scrummaging has earned him the drop. He's not in the 23.
He's not in the 23 anymore. So they recognise scrums enough. Like even if the refs not watching, the coaches are. Like Leilala's one was there for everyone to see.
He was just kept slipping, and it's a madness because they have the engine room to not go backwards even if you are under some pressure. To not be able to lock a scrum down at all was definitely
from tight head. Terrible.
Mad.
No.
Leilala's out, but I expect nothing more than parity there. In terms of the lineouts, All Blacks has been good. Wallabies was better.
It was better. It needs to still be a little bit better than it was. The All Blacks, one thing I will say is the selection of Dane Coles. There were a couple of ones in the first half in Eden Park that went astray, whereas when Cody Taylor was in the week before, between him and Tui Piloto, it was just like a well-oiled machine.
Worth noting that Sam Whitelock wasn't in the team.
That's true too. That was a big noticeable difference. Sam Whitelock he is the All Black lineout. He's their savvy elder statesman.
As good as Tui Piloto is.
Exactly. So I expect the lineout to return to its magnificent form for the All Blacks, and it's up to the Wallabies to try and make something happen on their own ball. Certainly, it'd be nice to see some Brumbies-esque mauls for it.
The mauls they've really struggled to get the sort of dynamic motion, low body position, driving at an angle, moving away from the All Blacks' big forwards. They've really not been able to get anything.
They haven't.
Going.
They haven't really wanted to.
The quick transition hasn't been there. Like that's what the Brumbies did so well. Like up. And then straight away you're into a maul and the ball's at the back, and then you're pivoting. Like that's the great maul that the Brumbies have brought.
They haven't really wanted to take them on there, but I think they should. I think they should try and surprise 100%. Them, try and force them to defend the set piece maul, because then it just at least it means the forwards are tied up. If you do it for even a few seconds before you go wide, it just gives your young backs more space and more time to play with. So I would like to see the Wallaby maul kind of make a return, the Brumbies maul de facto such as it is, make a return and make some inroads. Then just to pivot onto the All Blacks, the visiting team, they know that one win will do it for them, close out Bledisloe for another year. When they have the ball, how do they go about making that happen?
Well, what they did in the second test was wear the Australians down with a lot of physicality. I mean, I think we've been critical on a macro scale of perhaps them leaning a little too much into the physicality and lacking a little bit in the creative department. But control, in terms of winning this game, controlling the collision zones and tightening up in terms of controlling the ball, limiting their error count, not dropping as many balls as they did, forcing the Wallaby team without that many jacklers to make a load of tackles against men who are bigger than them is very much the All Black picture. Aaron Smith can pick loads of good passes. He's usually got many different options, and they've just got a rake load of forward ball carriers who are dynamic and excellent. None better than Hoskins Satutu is coming into the team.
He's going to be a good source if he can get him. He likes to hang out a little wide and link up, but then so does Dane Coles. There's all kinds of potential for them to get offloads and get in behind this Wallaby defence if they can start by dominating carries, then get the hands free. There's definitely all kinds of scope for strike runners. Certainly Beauden Barrett and the like, and Aaron Smith will be running good support lines all day. But the question mark is, like, generally you'd like to see a little more creativity, a little more verve in terms of just them unpicking without necessarily having to win several carries in a row before they create anything.
Yeah, you're not really seeing too much creative going on in the midfield in particular. And I think you're right to point out as well that the Barrett Moonga link hasn't really been there. Both of them have been there, but their link hasn't been that well.
I haven't seen Moonga pass to Barrett that often.
Yeah, there's been better shapes out there than this current All Black back shape, that's for sure. And most of what they're doing well is being done off chaos ball and transition, and then also when they're already dominating collisions.
Yes.
Usually getting the ball to Caleb Clark 1-on-1 or 1-on-2 is good enough for him.
This is it. They got a photo. Like, Caleb Clark was sensational last week, no doubt. Or not last week, the week before.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of it was from kick return. You got to think the Wallabies are going to learn that lesson and not kick to him so readily.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to kind of manufacture the scenario where you put him in space or put him one-on-one. Himself and Bowden Barrett and stuff. Try and get them running down tight channels together.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see a little bit more variation in terms of the handling in the midfield. Certainly, it didn't help that Goodhue didn't have a great game the previous week in terms of his distributing, because I know him as a 13 who's converted to 12, they do kind of like him passing the ball for a few of these moves. Didn't quite work that way the last time, so it would be nice to see him a little bit more dialed in doing that. But yeah, we're just asking for a little bit more from this All Black team. It's still pretty young.
Backline, yeah, for sure. I mean, frankly, I think their best avenue for winning this game is actually to protect the ball and work the Wallabies' holes off on defence.
That's true.
And keep making them make tackles against big players and keep the ball quick with Aaron Smith. Keep mixing it up, work short side, work open side, but have most sequences end in one of their many dynamic ball carriers running right down your throat.
Yeah.
And I think having the likes of Papali'i, the likes of Scott Barrett, the likes of Laumape coming on off the bench is just going to be more and more of that very quick, physical, line-picking runners attacking the Wallabies' soft shoulders.
Well, certainly,
that's very much the picture. Yeah. It's almost a Northern Hemisphere style.
It is a very Northern Hemisphere style.
With Aaron Smith as your general, with Richie and Bowden in there as well. Yeah. So with really quality distributors putting these big runners in space, and they're all very quick as well.
This is true. Yeah, well, certainly the picture they painted in Eden Park was ideal. They forced the likes of Phillip to go through so many tackles that he had to be hauled off by the end. Also, Hooper had a couple of steals in the first half, but then was getting bumped off by Caleb Clark in the second, because you're just forcing those key men for them to go through so much contact that by the end they're not the same force as they were. Yeah. So it's definitely going to be a big heads up, man for man. They're going to fancy their chances. So I think they will lean into the physicality with the ball and try and run them over. And then when they don't have the ball, similarly, it's like line speed and intensity. They brought it in spades in Eden Park, where they had kind of not. They kind of left it on the bus in the first week, whereas they came up out of the line, made it very, very tough for the Wallabies, forced the loose kicks that then led to Caleb Clark getting into the game, and Bowden Barrett as well, even in the first half. That's going to be their picture again. They got a taste of doing it wrong and getting a disappointing draw in Wellington, and doing it right and getting quite a good win in Eden Park, and they'll know which one they prefer, which one they'll be going for. So I expect they're going to bring a lot of pressure.
I'd expect them to bring some pressure down the throat of that young 10 Lolesio as well. Give him a baptism of fire, as it were.
Is it Sam Kane? It's probably Sam Kane. You're sending down his channel, and it's tough.
Yeah, or Hoskins Tutu if you're feeling
You could do Hoskins Tutu. I don't know where they'll put him on defense. It's interesting. They've kind of mixed that up.
I tell you, he's bloody brilliant.
He's very quick.
He's a jackal thread. He's a super tackler. He's actually sensational.
I'm just thinking in terms of the system, because I know Artie was on the wing a lot, doing steals out there sometimes as well. So it's up to them. I think Kane will probably be the guy tasked with getting after the debutant, because you'll want to let Satutu go roaming, whereas Kane will fancy it. I think, but pressure is what I think will be key in it. The other thing is I think they have more turnover men. It's unusual. It's an unusual dynamic in years gone by. Normally in Bledisloe, they're like, okay, watch the Wallaby, watch the Pocock Hooper, the Pooper Scoopers. Fardy even before were great steals, whereas I think actually the All Blacks have the edge in terms of steal and breakdown guys. Artie Sevilla drops out of the team, but you have Tutu in, who's a great turnover man. Their whole back row can turn the ball over fairly well, as can Alan, or not Alan, what am I talking about? The tight head. Ofatu'ungafasi.
Yeah.
Sure, he was producing steals after 60 minutes in week 1.
That's right.
They are dangerous.
Frankly, Goodhue as well, and even a lot of these backs are very hefty and will fancy a steal in midfield if it comes their way as well.
So if they're going to try and isolate runners,
physicalise and pressure the Wallaby team into making mistakes without making many yourself. Is
so there are no cheap high shots, no cheap
don't play them into the game,
exactly,
and keep them under pressure. And I think the All Blacks are going to be in a good place.
Yeah. So with all that, what are you thinking?
I like the Wallabies. I like the cut of young Lolasio's jib in there. I think there's definitely scope for potential. I like him and Iri Simone. I'm hoping for a competitive game again. I'm hoping for the Wallabies to show up. It is a big stand in front of their home fans. Hopefully they can put some offensive, give the All Blacks some offensive pressure and get some tries. And that'd definitely be the nicest
the longest precursor to a butt I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, listen, ultimately I think the All Blacks will win.
Yeah.
I think they'll win the game, but I'd like it to be close. I'm debating with myself whether I'm going to give them a big win. I said they'd win by 20 plus last time, and they won by 20. And they should have won by 20 plus. And they coughed up a couple of opportunities. But this one in Sydney, I think I'm going to go under. I'm going to take the under on 20, and I'm going to hope, and I'm going to say optimistically, that it'll be a decent scoring game.
Yeah.
So I'm going to think maybe the All Blacks, something along the lines of like 34-22.
Okay.
There's a scoreline for you.
That's a scoreline, very specific. I like it.
Yeah.
But potentially I would
give
love
or take
to see
2 points either way.
Yeah. I'm going to say the All Blacks just edge it in a 1-score game and have to dig it out last minute after a surprisingly good Wallabies showing. That's what I'm going to hope for.
So we both have faith in Lolasio to do some stuff,
yeah,
essentially.
That's what I'm hoping for. I would love to see on Australian soil them make a test. To be honest, what I'd love to see is the Wallabies to win it and send it to a final.
That's what all the neutrals want.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have it. Bledisloe 4. Let's have it be the pivotal one.
Yeah.
It hasn't been for years.
No, I don't see that being the future of it. But I think the Wallabies will give them a go, and hopefully they'll put some stuff together and give them plenty to think about, because they got talent to burn.
Yeah.
They really do.
Yes, they do.
But I think ultimately the All Blacks is just a bigger, better side.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much for watching that video. If you're new here, please like and subscribe for more content, and leave a comment down below as well, because we really enjoy the chat and hearing your views. Thank you.